This might be the last one for a few hours. Religion being harmful to society. Um, okay. SJW BS taught in middle school. I think that's horrendous. God willing, when I have kids, or when I have kids, God willing, uh, I will either hopefully have enough money to send them to Catholic school, um, or homeschool them. Um, or send them to school, but make sure that I teach them at home as well. Maybe have them go to school 4 days a week, and one day of the week I teach them and I open their eyes and I make them see the horrors of this stuff, and they can challenge their teacher like I challenged my teachers in school. Like when a substitute in my eighth grade science class, substitute teacher, I don't know how we got on this subject because it was science class. She said, I said, America has the most powerful army. And she started laughing. And this is after the end of the Cold War, obviously. She goes, no, it doesn't. Germany has the most powerful army. And I thought to myself, I didn't respond, and I should have. But I thought to myself, like, Germany doesn't have an army. The Berlin Wall had just fallen. They're not even command of they have they're forced to have a limited army. It was basically just NATO, like, and then on the other side was the Soviets. Germany. I mean, it was still. I mean, unification was still happening in Germany at the time. How the hell would that be possible? That would be like saying in the '90s, well, Japan has the strongest navy. Well, it wasn't allowed a navy until like 3 years ago, so no, or army or whatever. So yeah, there's the teachers have always been very stupid. I remember I got an answer wrong because, well, I didn't get it right. I don't know, because a history teacher asked me, what does it mean from the halls of and she goes, halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. And then she repeated and said, the halls of Moctezuma. I'm like, Mocked, like with a T. Mocked? No, no, not a T, with a K. Mocktezuma. And I was like, Mocked, and I'm like, shit, maybe that's a Japanese name. I thought she was, and I'm like, at first I thought she was talking about Montezuma, like the guy that Cortez encountered. Yeah, she was. She was just trying to be elaborate and mispronounce it wrong because she was just speaking to a bunch of stupid kids. Even though I was in there and I always found history very interesting. I always found history interesting, and Mesoamerican history extremely interesting. Um, but this shit gets taught all the time. Dare, they did that when I was in high school, or when I was in grade school, actually, before junior high. Dare, it was a program to keep kids off drugs, and all it did is teach you how to get drugs, where to get drugs, and how to use those drugs, and what the risks were for using those drugs. No wonder it was my generation that basically invented the rave scene, and that in my generation, in which ecstasy and crystal meth exploded, and there was a huge resurgence of heroin. Um, because before people would be like, "Man, if you smoke pot, it'll make you go crazy." I'm not touching that. Well, it's a lie, but at least kids not smoking pot, you know. Why educate them on all the different types of drugs? And we ask you, well, can they kill you? Well, oh, yeah, in an overdose, but no, it's not going to kill you like that. Or acid's not going to make you go permanently insane. And I mean, it was almost like melting all your fears of drug away, and then telling you how to get them, where to get them, basically, how they're used. I mean, Dare is the craziest. I mean, they don't teach it in schools anymore. They pulled it. Like it's my senior year of high school. I think they stopped doing it because they're like, yeah, we saw drug use go up like by 800%. I'm thinking, no, duh. I'm some stupid third grader who hadn't ever heard of any of these drugs before. We saw probably like marijuana and cocaine from movies, and suddenly I know more about them than anyone in my family. Ridiculous, and I have a huge family. Um, so the SJW shit, as long as there's parents out there, there's going to be people pushing back against this stuff. Social justice warrior kind of stuff, and there should be social justice, I guess. I mean, but their definition of social justice is crazy. It's they want to destroy individual rights, destroy equality of man, and just judge you by your subgroup. You're a Native American, and you're a woman, and you're a lesbian, and you're a this and a that, and all these different labels. See, sociology is basically the study of stereotypes. They put all these categories onto you instead of saying, hi, my name's Bob, and the other person saying, oh, my name's Susan. Oh, nice to meet you, and then getting to know somebody, and then finding out, oh, they're Native American, or oh, they're a lesbian, or oh, they have, you know, they're disabled in this way, or what. Instead of treating people accordingly, treating all people equally. No, you know what? Be mean to the whites and the Asians because they have privilege, and all white people are bad because very few white people owned slaves in one portion of the world, and then they fought one of the bloodiest battles known to man, bloodiest wars known to man, to end slavery, um, while slavery had been going on, chattel slavery had been going on in Africa for 30,000 years prior to that, and still was until the Victorian era. And then even after that, it still was, and it's making a huge resurgence. Um, Not just like unpaid worker slavery like that's in Yemen and Saudi Arabia. I mean actual chattels like robbing, and then not to mention the Pirates of the Barbary Coast, where more whites were taken as slaves than there were Bantu Black West Africans. Um, or everybody's an immigrant. No, everybody's not an immigrant. The Anglo-Saxons, the English, and the Dutch Protestants, the English Protestants and the Dutch Protestants and the French came over, and they were the settlers and the colonizers. So were the Spanish. The Irish, which had abolished slavery, and the Irish only enslaved their own people, and some people they got from the coast of Britain, which were Celts anyways. They ended slavery voluntarily in the 400s, and they were used. They were brought over and used as slaves. They were actually treated worse than chattel slaves because they were called something called indentured servant. So they were worth less because they were free after 7 years. So they'd be worked to death. I think the chance of surviving indentured servitude, because it was meant to be a form of apprenticeship. That's how it started out. But if you were Catholic or Irish, and those are one and the same, they would work you to death. they would get the most bang for their buck, so they'd work you to death. I think it was like 1 in 70 survived. And then a lot of times they said, "What? I'm a Protestant. I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. You're a Catholic Celtic Irishman. Whose word are you going to believe, mine or theirs?" And they never taught the Irish to read, so what contract? So just sign this contract and you'll be free. Oh, looks like you signed up for another 7 years. So yeah, there's a lot of bullshit going around. Uh, and the thing is that SJWs are taught what to think, not how to think, because they will start throwing stones, they will get violent at you, they will do anything but argue ideas. And I see this born directly out of the atheist movement. The hostility, even the way of argument, directly out of the new atheist movement. Find me a practicing Eastern Orthodox Christian or a practicing traditionalist Catholic who's an SJW. The belief that women need men like fish need bicycles, or that there should only be women on this earth, and that they don't want any men to exist, and they want all artificial insemination. This is what people preach, and they don't get called out on it as being bigoted or genocidal. They want to see the destruction of whole cultures because they've now labeled these people white. Italians, Spaniards, Greeks, Albanians, these people are white. I mean, I can understand calling an Anglo-Saxon a white. I can even understand Irish being white, even though they weren't considered white up until like what, the 1920s, and even then they weren't equal to the Anglo-Saxon. The Italians didn't actually never really became white, right? I mean, you look at an Italian, you look at a Cuban, how can you tell the difference? You can't. Look at me, I'm lighter than far more most of the Italians, and I have Arab and Hispanic blood in me. I'm also half Irish, but even look at the other side of my family that's not Irish. I know Italians that are darker than them that are full-blooded Italian, full-blood Italian from either Eastern Italy or Southern Italy. Or this guy's Italian. Could he be Latino? Well, yeah, because all Italians are Latinos. But he's not a Latin American. So I think SJWism, it's going to die off, but it's kind of always been around. Margaret Sanger, I mean, Adolf Hitler was a progressive. He was against smoking. He was for abortion. He was for euthanasia. He was for the destruction of Christianity and a thing called positivism.